Hood postman, city, hood, click. Let's go.
About humanity, putting truth in these lines while they busy feeding lies. When you got that tunnel vision, gotta open up your eyes. Wake up and go to sleep. Man, I'm praying all times. And to my guys, ain't no other side. This for my brothers, I'ma pray we all shine. Lock the door. Go ahead, lock the door. Lock the door. Go ahead, lock the door. Yeah, you already know.
Depending on the lessons, some people eat, some people learn. But the game is going to send you big. Lock the door.
Lock the door. The guest is gonna send you. So shout out to the notification in the mailroom goons. I am Professor Gully Mr. the Hood Postman. Be sure to click the notification bell, like, subscribe, and share. Drop a comment down below so when the dope content hits, it feels like the first. Yeah, no, y'all don't play with that. Y'all remember the y'all used to be so happy on that. But coming back to it, you can go anywhere in the world with a couple of lives, but you can right here and get the truth. And the truth you shall receive. You got to in the house, get on the bus, and let them take you to school. Be sure to enter your by the light. Be sure to enter the room by the conscious, your conscious of your mind, and let your conscious be your guide. And don't be disturbed by things that might be here that won't have no impact or effect on your daily life. Always take in account that people face all sorts of kind of things, but be sure that we have your best interests at heart, and we're here to give you some good comment, some good information. We got our brother in there, George Turner, actually that's running for the 39th Superior Court. Am I right, George?
That is correct. I'm running for seat number 39.
There you go. And we also got the homegirl in there, Bird. Bird, where you at?
Man, I'm in my skin. What's
Yeah, you
going
gotta come
on
out
with
the
you?
dark. You gotta come out the dark because people don't like to go in the dark.
Okay, okay. Let me
They
let
come out
me
the dark.
let me move around a little bit, y'all. Oh, snap.
There you go.
Hey, you have a feed, a back feed in your.
I think
I don't
somebody
know if
got
it's
two
just my. It
devices.
might be my phone.
If you got two devices on, that's the speed.
Oh, okay. Well, let me move away
That's
for a
it
second
there.
and see what's going on.
Get rid of that second
Hey,
speed.
hey, hello, world.
Welcome to the middle room. You can come inside and take a look at the mind standing within your heart. Why we here today? Bird, you still got two devices on?
No, it's not me. I only got one.
You got one device on?
Yeah,
What what about you, George?
I'm watching.
One on the phone.
Okay, cool. Um, let me say this George, before I get to asking you the question. What I want to understand, and then you can confirm or confirm this, that the power of keeping lies within the local power, where each voice
Yeah.
has a role in shaping the community with decision making in the process of politics, serve as a foundation of democracy, allowing individuals to engage in issues that directly affect their daily lives. It is in our local communities that the citizens can express their opinions, advocate for change, hold their elections thing is to count the collective act of our voices is the power that have the potential to drive peaceful transformation, and it's the issue that we recognize the importance of local elections. Um, would you accept that as a good opening?
I believe that that is 100% accurate. I think that we kind of play with the term democracy too often and don't know what it really means. We think about democracy in terms of national politics, and the reality is that the overwhelming majority of us will never see the president of the United States. And the decisions that local politicians make are the ones that have the real impact. The decisions on who's going to be the sheriff and who he's going to hire, decision of who's going to be the local judge, the decision who's going to be the mayor in your town or your council member or your state senator or state congressman. Many people don't even know that there's a difference between your state representative and your federal representative, right?
That is
And
Hmm.
and those people are the ones who actually make the decisions about who is the head of your local board of education. That makes a determination about the quality of the schools in your neighborhood, and most people don't
right.
know those things. And those people usually they're getting 5,000 votes make the determination, and you don't even know who voted and what positions they hold and what policies they stand for. So absolutely, local politics is I mean local politics is the not even just the foundation; it is the entire plate of democracy, in my humble opinion.
How did you come about? What inspired you to become an attorney?
Frankly, I grew up smack dab in the middle of this thing we call mass incarceration. I grew up with my family, friends, community members cycling in and out of camp, which is a nice way of saying jail for children, uh, cycling in and out of county jail, cycling in and out of state prison, having, you know, um, really a dream and goals just completely destroyed. And I said, why is that? Why am I cycling in and out of this system and this system doesn't work? Right? So I went to college trying to figure out like what is going on with this institution? Why does it exist? Why is it so many, particularly black and brown folks, are ending up in this system? Studied a variety of things, and then I went to law school, still trying to get an answer. And what I discovered, man, was that um, that these decisions were made um, without really thinking about the long term consequences and not really having a a strong foundation in what they call public safety is, right? Um, and so, I decided, there are all these sort of high-minded ideas about these things where we read in books and we theorize about it. But I was like, yeah, that's nice to talk about in theory, but I'm talking about today, right now, somebody's sitting in custody, and I need to be there to try to fight to get them. And so, that's why I decided to become a public defender because I'm like, I can go back into my community and fight to help people get out of custody today, right now, as we speak. So that's kind of been my driving force to do this work. It wasn't to make a whole bunch of money, wasn't to become famous. I really wasn't into like politics per se. To be honest with you, I was just a frontline soldier trying to keep people out of custody, man.
Who do you directly work with? Do you work with the adults?
So I've been at the public defender's office for 15 years. I worked at airport. I worked in Inglewood. I worked in Compton. I worked in Central. I've worked in the juvenile court in Inglewood. I was there for about 2 years. It was one of the most difficult assignments that I've ever had because these were kids who are from my neighborhood. I'm born and raised in Inglewood, California. Like it was so wild. My colleagues at the courthouse used to say things like, "You know everybody here." I'm like, I don't know everybody. It's funny because there's one story where as we were walking down the courtroom, a young lady ran by. She was just running, jogging, and I said, "Hey, Tamika." And she was like, "Hey, George," and she kept running by. And they're like, "You really do know everybody." I'm like, "That's Tamika. We went to high school together. Like, I'm born and raised here for real." Um, So watching the kids in my neighborhood cycle in and out of camp, and you know, going in and out of these crazy institutions, it literally, it breaks your heart, man. It breaks your heart. Um,
So
but yeah,
tell me,
so yeah, I've worked in juvenile, worked in adult, and
uh-huh.
what we call an adult, um, is different than what the science suggests an adult is, right? They'll put someone who's 19 or 20 years old in prison for the rest of his life, and all the neuroscience suggests that their brain isn't even finished developing,
Ah,
right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
so they say, and they say that things like trauma and and poverty can have an impact on one specific function of the brain, and that's impulse control, right?
Uh-huh,
So an 18 or a 19-year-old is going to react differently than a 35 or a 40-year-old, and yet who we're putting in these cages are the 18 and 19-year-olds who we know have problems with impulse control, right?
right,
The logic doesn't make any sense. The logic and the science doesn't make any sense.
right. So, Darla, coming to you, when did you meet attorney Turner?
I met Mr. Turner when I was working at Amity, and then when I was working at City Hall.
Uh-huh.
hmm When
And
I
what was
was part of the Karen Bass administration.
I think you need to go
Huh?
out because you got a lot of feedback.
Okay, so can you hear me? So it's probably the
Yeah.
feed from the hallway. Okay, so yeah, George and I met vaguely once when I was working at Amity Foundation and when I was uh, working in City Hall with the Karen Bass administration for the Inside Safe program. Um, he runs a homeless mobile unit that helps formerly incarcerated that are homeless get their record expunged to get a second chance in life because we are weighed by these records. You know, I know they say, oh, on the first part of the application, you don't have to say if you've been convicted before, but once they give you that job offer and they run your credit check, and even though it might not even coincide with the job that you're applying for, they still look at you with a stank face and not giving you an opportunity to show your skills and abilities. And so he and I just clicked instantly because we had the same mind frame because I'm a certified paralegal. I can work with or without an attorney. And a lot of people are not aware of how crucial a paralegal is because some attorneys rely on the paralegals to do the research, and that's how you win the argument. So yeah, that's my guy right there. That's my go-to. And I endorse him 100% because I know he is for the community.
And that's why we're here. We're here trying to get this elected because it's important that we control our local politics and we elect the ones
hmm
who want to fight for us because nobody know better than than another person to come from our same walk of life, our background and background.
Right.
And I appreciate having George here today to talk about this. But George, what I want to ask you also, how does the word game, right? To me, in terms, it plays out as a shot word within the court. In other words, if I say shot word, it gives presence of murderer, murderer, kidnapper, robber, burglar, all the heinous crimes that's associated now can define gang member. Is that an accurate assessment?
I hate to say this, but it is 100% true that once you use the term gang or gang member, it creates some sort of a bias, both in the court, from the prosecutorial side, even from the sentencing side, that is unfounded in 9 out of the 10 instances. What is really surprising to me, what surprised me, and it's funny because I know I'm talking to somebody who's a real historian of this, right? Um, it is amazing to me the lack of knowledge that people in the courtroom have about gangs and how they will use that lack of knowledge to punish people just completely. Like, let me give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about, okay? So I'm born and raised in Inglewood. I went to Morningside High School. We all know that's the Crenshaw Mafias. We all know that that's right across the street from the Bottoms. Okay, I'm sitting in the Inglewood courtroom, and the gang expert says that that neighborhood is a predominantly Crip neighborhood and has been so since the 80s. And I'm sitting as a just not, it's not my case. I'm just somebody waiting on my case to be called. But hearing it, it was so frustrating to me that I literally had to get up and walk out because it's the equivalent. It's so ignorant. I wouldn't even know how to cross-examine someone on something that ignorant. It would be just like someone saying that uh, UCLA, that USC is based in Westwood. It's like, no, that's the complete opposite. Like this is
Hmm.
the disputed territory. This
And this person is supposed to be an expert.
and someone who had been certified by the court as a gang expert and said that he had done all sorts of investigations in that neighborhood for the last 20 years, and he knew that that was a Crip stronghold. And I say you so, and I'm just like you're about to tell this judge and the people in this court that the Bottoms are a Crip stronghold, and you're certified as an expert. It was utterly ridiculous, right? It's and these sort of situations are the reason why you need to have bench officers who are from the community and knowledgeable.
Hmm.
Minute that if I'm sitting on a court, if I'm sitting on the bench, and someone tells me that the Bottoms is a Crip stronghold and has been so for the last 25 years. I'm like, well, that's funny because I'm born and raised 10 blocks from the Bottoms. I went to high school across the, not even across the street, adjacent to the Bottoms, and there were no Crips in the Bottoms for the years that I grew up there. Not one. Right? Like that's not just a blood neighborhood, that's a blood stronghold.
Uh,
Right? So it's very, and this isn't me saying something that is controversial. That's just anyone who's from the community knows that, right? But he can get away with that because he has his uniform on, right? So he's been certified as a gang expert, and the judge doesn't know anything about the community, right?
uh,
So and these sort of situations happen all the time, right? So it's funny because I used to talk all the time with T. Rogers because he was trying to get certified as a gang expert so that he could be on the panel and testify.
uh,
And he said he was constantly denied because he didn't have enough knowledge about gangs. And I remember thinking that if T. Rogers doesn't have enough knowledge about gangs,
yeah,
then like if you're saying that T. Rogers doesn't have enough knowledge about gangs, then no one has enough knowledge about gangs.
that's true.
No one. I mean, there's no one who would have more knowledge
Man.
about gangs than at the time when he was
Then
alive.
T. Period.
So the fact that he had to even argue, like the fact that he wanted to be a gang expert, should have been an honor, right? But instead, he had to jump through hoops and justify his knowledge, and it's a very very frustrating experience when you talk specifically about gangs in the criminal courts,
Right.
because like I said, there's a lot of and I hate to use the term, but it's truth, fake news about how they deal with gangs, how they understand gangs. And I'm talking about basics, right? I'm not talking about, the inner clique, this person and this person, and you know, the things that they say are just, it, very, very frustrating as a criminal defense attorney, right? You do things for the benefit of the gang. I've had gang experts tell me as a defense attorney that if someone is a member of a gang and he walks outside, uh, he and presents himself outside, he's doing that to intimidate the community, and that's done for the benefit of the gang.
Huh?
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it multiple times. And I said, so basically, what you're saying is that if you say that someone is a member of a gang, 'cause that's the other thing, they'll claim that people are members of gangs and aren't members of gangs because the whole FI card situation is insane, right? They'll pull up to a group of black kids and they say everybody here is a member of a gang. Fill out this FI card, and then you fill out an FI card. Now you're on the gang file, and you're like, I
So can just to spin it off a little bit, by definition, would you be willing to say that Republicans and Democrats are gangs? Because by definition of what a gang is, I'm just saying,
I,
and then when you sign up as a Democrat or you're a Republican, you're signing that card
I
to
mean, I mean,
register that you're a known gang member. Oh, I'm
the,
just saying, I don't know. Okay, continue, George.
it's the logic. I mean, it's funny because that's kind of how the logic. That's how it goes, right? I mean, and well, I mean, listen. That is the logic, and it's not just so gangs are one problem, right? But then it gets even
Hmm.
deeper than that because like let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. In order for someone to be convicted of a robbery, right? There has to be either force, but then there also could be fear or intimidation, right? So I've had people argue. I had a case where a client was accused of a robbery because he went into a liquor store and took some beer. Didn't say anything to anybody, didn't yell at anybody, he just
That's
took some beer.
not theft.
That's a theft, right? But the argument was it's a robbery because, and this is I will never forget this. He was a black man who was 6 feet. He had
Oh,
on a white T-shirt,
stereotypical.
and
Typical.
the reason why it was insane to me that these arguments were being made, I was like, who you just described is me. I am
Uh,
a black man who wears
Well,
white T-shirts on the weekend. So you telling me that if I walk into a liquor store or if I walk into my local Superior Market and I forget to pay for something that I walk out, that I robbed someone? you know, but the audacity that argument will be made even with me as the defense attorney will let you know how far things can go if you don't have folks who are from the community, who are knowledgeable, and who can say, "Hey, yo, that doesn't pass common sense muster in this community," and it's kind of offensive that you would even make that argument.
so what you're saying is in the court system, in the proceeding itself, there's a lot of dog whistling, cryptic messaging that they understand themselves, and we're looking at it like, oh, this is nonsensical.
Well, the way I explain it is this, right? So if you look at the court, if you look at the judges in Los Angeles County, the overwhelming majority of them are white. The overwhelming majority of them are men. The overwhelming majority of them come from a prosecutorial background or from big business. So those are the judges, right? So if the overwhelming majority come from one specific background, then that background becomes the objective background, right? It's not the community's background, it is the background of the judges. That becomes the reasonable person, right? If everyone comes from the same background, then they get to define what the reasonable person is, and that's the standard for most legal analysis is the reasonable person, which is why you need to have defense attorneys, women, black people, people from diverse
hmm
backgrounds, so that we can diversify the concept of what is reasonable. Because what is reasonable to me as a black man born and raised in Inglewood, California, in the middle of mass incarceration, who's been a defense attorney for 15 years, might be a little different than a white guy who comes from a wealthy background, who went to an elite law school,
Right.
who's never practiced criminal defense law and only worked in big business, or a prosecutor who, has been working with law enforcement his entire career and, believes that police officers are heroes, right?
And to support what George is saying, when you get judged by a jury of 12, they're supposed to be jury of your peers. And then after they make the final decision, the judge gives out the sentence. Nobody talks about the judge.
No.
And so what he's saying is true. It's imperative that we have somebody that we're knowledgeable of. Like, how many times have you went on a ballot and just start marking shit about the judge because you really don't know anything about it? You
Yeah.
don't know where these people come from. And they're supposed to be judging us, the community.
Yeah. And for years, particularly with regard to judges, they call them low information races. So what that means is they've run on the idea no one knows who I am. I'm endorsed by the LA Times. I'm going to put that I'm a prosecutor or I work for a big firm on the ballot, and that's going to be enough to get me elected. So for years, the only people who would know anything about the judges will be the other lawyers. They might put it in the lawyer newspaper, and that will be the only information we have about the judges. Like, until the last election, they wouldn't have websites. Like, we have a website. I have a website. I'm
Hmm.
campaigning. I'm going to different organizations. I'm talking to everybody that I can. I'm in the community because I want the community to know me and I want to be held accountable by the community. This is intentional, right? But for years, that wasn't a get down. That wasn't a hustle at all. The hustle was be quiet, get these handful of votes, get in, stay there.
So this November, you'll be on.
I will be on the ballot. Yes, I will be. I am seat number 39. So it's not going. Well, I don't know where it's going to be on the ballot. It could be at the front because they might do local stuff first and then do national in the back, or they might do it the opposite. But somewhere when they go to Superior Court judges, it's going to be seat number 39, and I am George Turner, George A. Turner Jr. To say, Deputy Public Defender. That's what I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Cool. George, one thing I did, 17 just 18, right? And got in trouble. And they was ready to, they was really trying to get me. Because this was during the time, I'm 65, so this was during the time when racism was really there, present. You knew it was there, right? So somehow I look up and get a black judge, right? So I'm at the point where I either take a jury or I take a judge trial, right? But something about that black judge, when I looked at it, told me, the heck with the jury, go with the judge, and I picked right. Because the judge, and this is what I went on, the judge had to follow the law. The law as it was read and because the law was definitive based on how it was written. It was said reasonable doubt. There was a lack of evidence. There was no. They had no. They had virtually just had one dude saying, "I don't know if it was he. I don't know. They really said." They just had one dude, right? And they was actually trying to put prison behind it. The judge, based on the reasonable doubt and everything, said, and that was the first time that happened. So the second time I got in trouble, I did the same thing. I picked the judge and I won again. So I'm saying all that to say this is that sometimes we can't put our faith in now. With me saying that, other these people that were sitting in the jury are untrained. They either doctors, lawyers, engineers, for higher education that doesn't live nowhere in my community, and they all look like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
can I trust?
I mean, so it's funny because the buzzword that people say is you are entitled to a jury of your peers, but the way the Supreme Court has interpreted what is the definition of a jury of your peers is a quote reasonable cross section of the community in which the case happened. So your jury is not a jury of your peers, it's a reasonable cross section of the people in the community where the crime was committed. So what does that mean in real life, right? So if I'm born and raised in Compton, but I'm accused of a crime in Torrance, I don't get a reasonable jury of my peers from Compton. I
So,
get a reasonable cross section of people in Torrance,
and you
right?
know what's that's like,
Exactly, right? So that the very definition is something that can be extremely problematic. And as someone who is a running for judge, I can't opine on any pending litigation, and I can't tell you what I would do as a bench officer. But fortunately, or interestingly enough, the law has changed significantly about how you even pick jury because there's been so many issues around, folks kicking jurors just because they black or just because they Asian or just because they were accused of a crime in the past. They've been just kind of kicked off a jury. So the law has changed significantly around that. But yeah, I've seen some really troubling things happen with regard to juries. And the other story that I tell folks is that there's this falsehood that people from the hood can't be good jurors. A working class guy who's a plumber couldn't be fair. Someone who was accused of a crime couldn't be fair when he's sitting on the jury. And what I found as someone who's worked in Compton and worked in Inglewood, and I've had great cases, and I've had cases where my client was, there was no question that he did it, but I'm fighting the case anyway. And what I found personally, I'll give you my personal opinion, is that the working class folks, the folks who are from the community, who know the issues, they tend to be not just fairer but more knowledgeable. Meaning you can't get one off on them. You know what I'm saying? You can't hustle them because they know the hustles already, right? So you have to be honest and straight up and straightforward. And they tend to be the people who are not going to just rely on, oh, well, he's a tall black guy, so he had to have done something. They accused them of it, so he had to have done something. Or, this police officer has on a uniform, so he has everything he says has to be the truth, right?
right.
Even if it doesn't make any sense, it has to be the truth.
They lied to
And when I will say this: body cameras have made being a criminal defense attorney very difficult because you get hours and hours of body camera from multiple people, but what you hear on some of these body cams and what you've seen on some of these body cams are amazing. I can't tell you how many cases where I've read the police report and then looked at the body camera and I said, "Is this the same case?"
and it contradicts the police report.
You wonder if it's the same case. Like, is this the same day? Are we talking about the same thing? Like, I've had cases where police officers have said, you know, I stopped the guy and I just so happened to see that he had a gun on the front seat of the car
Right.
and he admitted it. And then you look at the body camera, they didn't pull the dude out of the car for no reason. I'm sorry, the dude wasn't even in the car, They didn't arrested him, threw him on the side of the road. He didn't said it's not his car. He's not affiliated with it. They rumbled through the car for an hour and a half, and they find some old rusty, maybe at work gun in the rear of the car amongst some trash, and they pin it to the guy. And it's like, well, that's not what it said. Your police report said you saw him driving. That's not what happened on the cam. You said that you saw the gun on the front seat. You saw it in the trunk of the car. You said that it was operable. I'm looking at the gun on the body cam. That gun don't work. I wouldn't even call that thing a gun. Like it's a rusty piece of metal.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen all these things, and I've seen them a lot, right? Um, and so these aren't things. I'm not saying that all police officers lie, right? I'm saying that I'm not going to assume that because someone has on a uniform that what they say is the gospel,
Right.
right? That's just not going to be my perspective. That hasn't been my experience in the law in the criminal courts.
Darla, you being in the jungles,
Huh?
right?
Say that again.
You grew up in the jungle, right?
Born and raised, yes. Baldwin Hills.
You knew T. Rod, the rest of the guys over there, right? You grew up with
Yes, that's my uncle.
uh,
Yes.
Little Bob,
Say
Big
that.
Bob, all the Bob.
Peace and blessings to him.
Blessings to us. What was your experience growing up in that area, and how did that impact you as far as being engaged with police because you lived in that area?
Okay, so it's like I'm getting a lot of feedback, but let me see if I can reiterate what you just asked me. You asked me how did I grow up in the Baldwin Hills community?
Uh huh. And
Shoot,
we not call it.
I was a
You're right. We'll call it Palm Hills community.
um. I mean, during the '80s and the '90s, it was heavy on the gang culture and experience. So, I mean, I participated in certain things at one point, and I started my criminal career, so to speak, since at the age of 8. And predominantly, my whole life was the system, in and out. Boot camp, McLaren Hall, Dorothy Kirby. I went through every last system within the system that you can name of juvenile hall, YA. I did 10 and a half years in prison, got out in November of 2021. And so, my last term, I was wrongfully convicted. And the reason why they convicted me is because they knew I had priors. But I had substantial evidence to show that I'm actually and factually innocent. They wasn't hearing that. They didn't care. They just wanted a conviction. Because the prosecutor even went to the alleged victim and said, "Hey, are you sure this happened?" Because she has evidence proving that she didn't do that. So that amped them to change their story.
Hold on,
So
just hold on, just 1 second. Street Vision, District 39. He'll be running for court this political cycle, voting cycle.
hmm
So him up on the ballot to vote George Turner, 39 seats in the Superior Court as judge. That's why we're here today. But go ahead, Darla. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to with them.
so while I was being going through all those changes of court process, I was currently pregnant. I had my baby in jail. I went rogue because I knew I'm innocent. And the system basically kidnapped my baby. So that triggered and inspired my path for law now. I'm a certified paralegal. I got people home from inside of prison. I was considered a jailhouse lawyer, beating 602s, connecting with the men. And to answer Street Legends Films in regards about jury instructions, those are the main things that get people convicted. It's the jury instructions and see how they are framed. It's all by the prosecutor and how they word it and they put those jury instructions together. And so the reason why they get found guilty in certain instances because how the instructions chronological order to how they mark out certain instructions on the form. And so it's not like they were being biased, they were just following the instructions. So there's sometimes where there are favorable instructions that don't get to the jury because the prosecutor put a stop to it. So yes, there is some bias in that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, jury instructions is another issue that is amazing. Some of these jury instructions, um, and how confusing they are, how purposefully confusing they are, um, and how sometimes they'll you know the jury instructions. The overwhelming majority of the beginning of the jury instructions tells you that you have to presume people are innocent, that you can't convict someone unless you are convinced beyond a reasonable doubt, and then they define what reasonable doubt is. And so, but then you get into the details of what exactly happened, or what the actual charges are, and they're willfully confusing. In many instances, they're
Mhm.
willfully confusing. Um, and it's funny because you're right. Judges, the most appeals happen because of improper, or many. Not I don't want
Share
to
with
say
me.
most, but many appeals happen because jury instructions were either read incorrectly or given incorrectly. So that's absolutely it. And I will say this about seat number 39. So the reason why I'm seat number 39, and there are other people running for other seats. So in LA County, every judge runs countywide. So there are 10 million people in this county, 5 million registered voters, but there's 10 million people. And every seat is running countywide. So in theory, I need to get 2.5 million votes will ensure that I win the election. The seats are divvied up because there was a time that there was a superior court and a municipal court, and that changed in the early '90s. Um, and so I'm running in a seat where a judge had retired, so the seat number is open. But if I'm elected, Lord willing, and I'm elected, um, they can put me in any courtroom in LA County.
Got it.
But the need is in criminal courts. We are down a bunch of judges in criminal courts, and that leads
CCB.
yep, and that leads to a lot of backlog. It leads to folks having to wait for jury trials, which is waiting in. That's the other thing. as a I'm a firm believer that before you put someone in LA County jail, you should have at least visited once. And many bench officers have never been to LA County jail, don't know what LA County jail really is, never actually been inside. And one of the things I did as a public defender was I always visited my clients, right, not on phone. I'm talking about right there in the jail, right? Because I want to know what their experience is. I want to smell it. I want to have to sit on the bench. I want to have to see what they have to wear and experience. Not, I mean, I'm not sleeping there, but I want to be able to experience, have at least some sort of experience with them.
So
And
George, let me ask you a quick question.
uh-huh.
What is the treatment you when you entered into a facility to see a client? How does that come across? Their attitude or sheriff department?
Well, I mean, I will say this about um, how people are treated in our county jail system. You can read about it in the newspaper. You can also read about it in a variety of lawsuits. But it's bordering on. It's not even bordering on. It's rather unconstitutional the way people are treated. I'm talking
Hmm.
about um, airborne flesh eating viruses, MRSA. People dying every day. Um, Women being abused and assaulted. To be honest with you, if you want to be completely frank, The LA County, the reason why the LA County Sheriff is one of the highest paid um, county entities is because they pay tens of millions of dollars a year in lawsuits, and not just from shooting people on accident, but from assaulting the women in the county jails. Um, so my experience has been, they try to be as respectful as they can to me, or appear to be as respectful as they can to me as an attorney, but it's very obvious that when people say that slavery ended a long time ago, I encourage them to go down to first of all, I encourage them to go to any courtroom, right? And you walk into the courtroom, it's a large wooden box. It's usually a white guy standing over a bunch of black people who come in chains, right? What does that sound like, right? Um, Sounds like slavery, right? And then go visit LA County Jail and tell me that isn't that the people who are there aren't modern slaves, right? I mean, as cold and as harsh as it is, and legally that's how they're treated. That's how they're treated. There isn't much of a difference.
Well, George, Street Legends has already said he's endorsing you. He's voting for you. I'm voting for you. Uh, Other people that I know that's in the chat that vote, they're going to vote for you. So you got our vote, brother.
I appreciate it, and we started this discussion with democracy, and that this is what democracy is, right? You know, we like to talk about the show that is the Democratic National Convention. I have friends who are there. There's nothing wrong with the Democratic National Convention, but it's a show. That's a show, right? But democracy is what happens here. When we sit around and we talk about the things and the decisions that actually affect our lives, our children's lives, our parents' lives, our brothers and sisters' lives. We actually have conversations about, like, hey, do you think it's a good idea that we just throw in hundreds of people in county jail? Do you think that it's fair that judges are making determinations that aren't from the community and don't have knowledge about the community? Is it fair that we're judged in a system that we don't really know much about, right? Is it fair that literally outsiders are presiding in our jury, in our juror, I mean, in our cases, and it has had for the last, I'm 43 years old. What I tell people is for the last 50 years, which is the last half century, the state of California has built 23 prisons and only one college. That college was the biggest hills. They've only built one in 50 years, right? Opened three colleges. One of them was Cal State Channel Islands, which was a mental health facility, right? So
Cal State Channel Island. In Channel Island?
Yeah, in Channel Islands, which that was a mental health facility. They changed a mental health facility into a college. And then the other one is Cal State San Marcos, which is a military barracks. So in the last 50 years, we've had three new colleges. One of them they built, which was UC Merced. One of them was a mental health facility, and the other one was a military barracks. But we found the money and the time and the energy and the resources to build 23 prisons and a county jail, right? Because they rebuilt a supermax, right? So it's time now for us to try something different. We tried up mass incarceration. Right. We gave that the old college try, and if putting people in cages was going to make us any safer, we'd be the safest place in the world because we did that. We put people in jail. So now let's try to do something different. How about let's try to bring community-based organizations into the courthouse. Let's try to do alternatives to incarceration. Let's try to give people resources. Let's try to clear folks' records so that they can have access to housing and better employment. Let's try something different. That's how you get to public safety, right? That's what I try to explain to people all the time. If people aren't as what I found is that people aren't as greedy as we like to claim that they are. The average person, if you give them a decent home, a decent job, and the promise that their children are gonna do better than them, they will ride for you, right? They will ride for you with those three things: decent home,
Basic needs.
basic needs, decent home, decent job with decent respect, and the promise that it's going to be better in the future. And most people are happy, right? So how about we try to set up a society where we do that, as opposed to we just gonna throw somebody in a cage. I
Well,
mean, the logic doesn't even make any sense. So somebody comes into the court with circumstances. You put them in a cage for 10 years and you send them back out there with the same circumstances, and you want to know why the public isn't safe.
Oh, can I say something? And
sure.
this is to the community that got family members and loved ones in prison and in jail. Tell your family members to be quiet. Less is more. I didn't heard so many when I was working alongside attorneys and going through stuff. When they say the calls are being monitored and recorded, that's
That's
what
true.
they mean. I didn't heard 5 different cases that didn't even revolve around the case that I was working on because somebody over here, hey, the homie up in here, he up in here for whoa, 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 whoop, and then you want to talk about somebody snitching. Shut up.
What
Shut
what I
up. If you're not calling your family, talk about, hey, can you put some money on my books for canteen and probably trying to get you a private attorney? Shut up. Don't talk about, hey, the homie whoopty whoop up in here. Hey, can you call on my broad to see if she shut up? Because they're going to use that against you. For real. Seriously.
That's what the
I heard it.
Miranda warning is. It doesn't say it's going to use. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. So then, why would you say anything? Anything I say is going to be used against me. Why would I want to say it? I'm
I
done
don't care
talking.
if it's the homies in there that y'all talking to. They just get on that phone and start whoop whoop. Yeah, the homie said whoop whoop whoop. Shut up. Don't talk to the homies. Don't talk to nobody. Just talk to your damn attorney. Because you snitching on everything and everybody else and not even realize that's what you're doing. I'm
And you
just
have to
saying.
assume that everything is recorded when you're in their custody. Everything.
Period.
I used to advise my clients
Even
before
from
I
the
talk to
time
them.
you sit in the back bar, they start recording you.
Oh, absolutely. What I tell my clients, even when I go to county jail and we're in the attorney pod, I said, listen, I want to let whoever's recording this know that we are not waiving attorney-client privilege, and anything that we say cannot be used against us because this is a confidential conversation. Because I assume that as soon as you're in custody, they recording everything,
Yes.
Everything.
and they're gonna
I
use
tell
it
you,
against you.
let me share this with George. I went to the feds, right? I didn't money laundering. Basically, I was running a pharmaceutical without a license. That's why I went to the feds. Okay. Uh, they recorded. They had countless of hours of tape recordings, right, of conversation. They so dirty. When I was talking to my girlfriend, they took those conversations and called my house where my wife was and played the conversation so she can hear.
Ooh, the gangs.
The game gonna send you a bill.
Cold,
Yeah,
cold.
they play
That's
too
how
much.
diabolical these people are. I'm talking about when they tell you they record everything, they do. They got a picture of me. It either came from a drone or satellite because how they took the picture, it was aerial. I was looking up, and right to this day, I cannot tell you how they took the picture or what they used. I can only speculate on it.
Literally drones and photos that I remember when I first started working in Compton, there was an article where they said that they had released a drone on the city of Compton that could record for 48 hours everything that happened outside of everyone's house. And it was like a modern technology miracle. And they were all excited in the newspaper article. And I was like, what? So what you're saying is you surveilled an entire city in America for 48 hours, and that's a modern miracle of technology. It's a nightmare.
That is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. So,
It's a
and
God
nightmare.
bless our little team thing.
yeah,
So,
and
so George, what I would like to say here on record right now is that I believe that you got everything in terms to be judged, and I'm looking forward that you will be a judge. And then if that happens, when that happens, I would like you to reach back and bring me and Darla and whoever else. We form a team to where we, probation people or whoever that's, and we go in there and we give them some education. We give them something new, and other words, we try to change the direction of their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
that is one of my commitments. That's one of the reasons why I'm running. That's why I'm so honored to be on your show, because we don't have to agree on everything. It doesn't have to
Right.
be a love fest. We are from the community. We have different perspectives. We come from different generations, but the reality is we're all community members. We all believe in democracy, and more than anything, we have we it, I was raised to believe that it is my community is my responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing, and the reason why I'm running for judge is because it's not. I didn't run for judge because I want to put people in jail. I ran for judge because many of the laws have changed, and many of the like they've actually changed to benefit members of our community because we've gotten many local politicians who have more knowledge about things, and so there's a lot of laws that have changed. But when you go into the average courtroom, the judges aren't applying the law, right? So, or they either don't know or don't believe in or think that it's some sort of fad. So I'm running because I want to apply the law as it currently stands, create some jurisprudence around it. That's the goal.
Yeah, I'm on the podcast.
And so um, absolutely. My goal is to once I become a judge or a bench officer, is to reach back into the community and be held accountable. I want folks to say, hey, if I'm tripping, if I'm not doing what I said I want to do, I want people to say, remember that bald blackhead dude? He said he was going to do X, Y, and Z, and he didn't. You know what I'm saying? Now, people have been asking me, when you get on the bench, are you gonna change up? Like I've been me. One thing what I always tell folks is the only thing I've ever failed at is being someone else. I'm terrible at being anyone else but me. I've been me my whole life, and I'm committed to reaching back into the community, and talking with folks who have real life experience and have similar commitments to me to helping folks, because I think that's the way we get to real public safety. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
that's how we get to changing things. Is not by being all off the ground and look at me, I'm a judge. I drive a nice car and I'm fly and I don't hang out in the community no more. That's not how we get to public safety. We get to public
Mm-hmm.
safety by, hey, yo, I know that dude. He be at the local Costco. You know what I'm saying? He gonna be at the Morningside versus Inglewood game. He's also a judge. You know what I'm saying? That's how we get to real community change. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man, that's
Are you
that.
familiar with Judge Feiler?
I know Judge Filer very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Compton High alumni. Very proud of a Compton High alumni.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So yeah,
Also, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, George. Go ahead.
yeah, yes,
Also, with that's going to be on the ballot is ACA 8 to amend the state constitution to just say slavery is prohibited. That
mm,
also coincides with this stream. And then Proposition 36 to end mass incarceration. Vote no on Proposition 36.
How
So
would
you
that
have to be
impact the 13th Amendment?
say that again.
How would those laws impact the 13th Amendment? Would they
Well,
rectify
well,
it?
here's the thing: 2/3 of the state have to vote it into their state constitution to take it to Congress to amend the 13th Amendment. So we need to rally up all states that have that provision of involuntary servitude to amend their constitutional provision to say slavery is prohibited. And then we could push it up to Congress and say, hey, we need to change this 13th Amendment right here to just say slavery is prohibited.
See, Bird, that's why I like you. That's the stuff I need Bird to talk about, because those things right there, there's countless of people out there that's not aware of the things that you just said, Bird. So it's more important that we talk that more.
Okay, no problem. I'm here. I'm here for the community. I'm of the community. I have
I
to live here. They don't
don't have
live
to,
up here.
don't have to pull up on you.
Yeah, it's all love here.
Right, right.
That's why I love Judge so much because he is really when he say he for the community, he's stuck down to the ground. Like I'm not gonna endorse nobody. Like I'm not gonna put my name on somebody that I know is a buster. George is not a buster. He will fight for you just like I will fight for you in the community. It's yeah.
It is. Listen, it is what it is. Like I say, tell folks all the time, man. I don't think I've ever failed at trying to be somebody else.
So, George, before we get up out of here, tell people exactly what you need them to do and where, when should they go vote?
So, the election date is November 5th, 2014. I have a shirt. Me and I also have a running someone who's also running on my slate. Her name is Erica Wiley. But and I'm George Turner. But it's November 5th, 2024. Also, um, they have mail-in ballots. They're going to come out about a month before. So in October, on October 5th or so, you can mail in your ballot. Um, and what can you do to support me? I mean, literally, I need 2.5 million votes, and I can't knock on 2.5 million doors. So when you see someone and they're talking about this November 5th election, and some people say, elections, I don't believe in votes. I don't believe in voting. I'm like, listen, you can vote for judge. Like that actually, those votes actually do count. Seat 39 does count. It will count, literally. Um,
George?
Mhm.
I'm campaigning. I'm running against a guy a who is a city councilman from Manhattan Beach, right? So literally,
He
so
got
it's
to
me,
pass
with me
through
and
the
him.
hood just to get to work, and don't
Yeah.
even he keep his windows up when he passed through. The
So
hood.
so that is the decision. Me born and raised in Inglewood, been fighting this fight all his life, and gonna fight it anyway. Right? Stump down, gonna fight it anyway. Win, lose, or
I'm
draw,
saying.
but keep fighting.
Do
Or
you know
I'm sorry.
Michelle Chambers?
Oh, I know Michelle. I know Michelle. I know Michelle.
What about Michael?
I've seen Mike. So I was at an event because I do expungements. So what I do, I was a courtroom public defender for many years, and I might go back if I don't win. But what I do right now is I am over a small unit in the public defender's office that only thing we do is clear records for people who are either unhoused or at high risk of being unhoused. And the way we do
Mhm.
that is by partnering with community organizations. That's how I met Darla, because we were trying to partner with the mayor's office. I did an event last week at Cal State Dominguez Hills, and Mike Gibson was there.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
and it's funny because
I'm a Gibson too. GITS.
that's dope. It's funny because I meet these people, but I be working. like like
Right.
I don't have time to like
Right.
really
Got
have
it.
a long conversation with him. I'm like, I have a client in front of me. This man's life is in my hands.
So
I
people that's trying to get husbands, how do they tap in?
so I am a part of I'm the deputy in charge of the homeless mobile unit, and we have a calendar. We're out at least twice a week. Like I was at LA Mission College today. And we go to community events. The next event that we work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we go out and people ask, what do you need? The only thing you need is some time. And you can't be on probation. You can't be the law says you can't be on probation. You can't be on parole. You can't have a warrant or a case pending, and you can't register as a sex offender. As long as those things are true, as long as you don't have any of those things, you're eligible for an expungement. And people are like, so a strike? Yes, a strike. What about murder? Yes, even murder. You are eligible
So
for
Mike, I need to
expungement.
get with you, man,
Yeah, so
because
I
I
know that we will be working with KJLH at Dominguez Hills on September 14th, and we'll also be at a church on Harvard on September 14th. But we have a whole calendar on the public defender's
What
website.
about August 24th?
August 24th, I am going to be at Rose Park. We're going to be canvassing, letting folks know about my campaign and knocking on doors, letting folks know. But so August 24th is funny because I never think about me. I'm always thinking about how to help the community. But yeah,
I
we're gonna
got
be.
your back, dog. I got
I
your back.
appreciate you. So Kobe Day, August 24th at Rose Park at 10 o'clock.
There you go.
Hmm.
Darla, can you send me his number so I can get in contact with him, please?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
And also, unfortunately, the people that got federal cases, I'm sorry, at this particular time, the feds ain't giving no love. So it's only for state bodies that have criminal cases.
only
But
state.
don't let's hope though, change is on its way. It's just not right now.
Yeah, I want to clear all my state stuff, and we'll work on the federal stuff when it as it come around. I know the federal stuff's a little different.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
all it requires. That's the other thing I tell folks all the time about expungements. I'm like, please don't think the law changed because some lawyer on high decided that the law should change, or some judge decided that the law should change. No, the law changed because community members organized and said, "Yo, this particular law needs to change." And
Hmm.
so, what I encourage folks to do, like if you're a member of the community, this law changed because of the work that you did. So you should take advantage of the law that you changed.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know,
And that also goes towards pushing for expungement for the federal realm. People
this,
need to get paper, pen and paper proposals, policy proposals. Start aligning with people that are like-minded like you to get this passed through Congress for the federal realm. Start circulating it to see if it can become a bill
Correct.
and get it passed. That's how law is changed and created. Not what everybody is glorifies on television. No, that's not how that works. The people in the shadows are the ones that's really creating the laws and the rules and the regulations. Those are the ones that you need to be focused on. Not who's the president. The president is just the spokesperson. I keep trying to tell people that. They're just
that's
conveying what
a
has
code
changed
of
in law.
personality. That's all it is. It's a
It's,
code of personality.
it's a show.
Right.
It's a show.
It's a
We
show.
we
Drake
we
say it
Americans like
best.
to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? It's
Drake say it
entertaining.
best. He said, "You asked to see the boss, so they sent me." Other words, he not the boss. He was just a messenger. Come on now, listen, pay attention. You
So,
know, I'm just saying.
where can the people
Uh,
find you at?
Hmm?
sorry, say that again.
Where can the people find you?
Man, you can log on to darlajoneslegal.com. My Instagram handle is darlajones8228. I'm also on Facebook with my name, Darla Jones. Right now I'm in the process of getting my nonprofit together so I can also provide legal aid services in that aspect. But Darla Jones LLC is a for-profit business, so yes, you're gonna have to pay me or pay me no attention. Um, I'm just saying, I can't be nobody else but me either. I'm one of those wild professionals, but I'm sweet as fuck. So I'm just gonna keep it a buck.
Good people.
You go,
Very good people.
hey, listen, one of my moderators made this statement. If the professor was talking about booty bandits, it would be a million people in here, and she's correct.
Your man probably getting they booty hit right now. Not you,
Hey,
Miss Williams. I'm just saying.
when I talk about the most dramatic, the most drama, the most insignificant thing that goes on in our community, these people, they run in this chat room for hundreds. We don't have chat rooms with thousands of people in it before.
And
But it's
and
all based on drama, ill content, misfortune, and misogyny, and braggadocious, and draconian. Everything we can
Here's the
just talk
thing.
about wrong,
There is
running here. Now
there
we
is
can,
order out of chaos, Mel.
huh?
There is order out of chaos. As far as like this homeless crisis, do you know how much money has went to entities? And do you really think the homeless crisis is going to end
No,
because everybody getting paid off of this? Come on now, you gotta look. You gotta be blessed to see through muddy waters. All this shit is by design. Come on now. there is no how can we be the land of the free if everything costs so much, including our lives? So y'all y'all can play around if you want
Yeah,
to and start educating yourself and read.
so we can do this as often as you like. I
Huh?
don't care because if we got 15 people, 200 people, I don't care. As long as we're reaching somebody, that's what I care about.
Most definitely. And I want to say, man, I really do respect the fact that you are a historian. Like, like you are a good old fashioned historian. Like you might not walk around with the corny professor jacket with the patches on the side, but the being able to get folks to discuss the history of the streets of Los Angeles, the, they're not doing that in academia,
No,
and that's history being lost, and that's literally history being lost.
I
So
can,
Mm-hmm.
I can literally teach a class at Harvard Yale on that very subject.
listen, you've written volumes of works already without ever putting pen to pad, right? Just
Right?
That's right,
literally putting a
man.
microphone in people's face and saying, "Tell us your history," and then they tell it, and you're like, "You did all of that?" Like, yeah, that was me. That
I love it. Okay,
Journalism at its finest.
was me.
I'll let you, Darla, his number. I'll contact you as well. It's a blessing to you both. I appreciate you guys. Love you.
Be
Love you
safe,
and thank
and
you
I
for having me
appreciate
on
you.
your show.
Right on.
All right now,
Peace.
peace.
Big and shout out to the Mailroom Nation and the Mailroom Goals. See these are the lives that I enjoy. Now, don't get me wrong. I like listening to the history and I like being involved in understanding how we wind up in certain predicaments and circumstances. I like that, but at the same time, these are the most this right here is like our most critical hour of need. This is something that we need. He talked about expungements. He talked about the courtroom. He talked about being the right person to have the right person that's going to be in these judgeships, that's going to recognize the need and what we require in our communities. We cannot negate this. We if you don't do anything, at least go vote for the man and try to get him office and let him do the work, bro. Let him do the work. Don't take this lightly because trust me, if we don't get him in, they're gonna put some white man in there that you ain't gonna like, that ain't gonna like you, and that's gonna burn you. With that being said, I am Professor Melly Mail, the Hood Postman. Be sure to like, subscribe, press thumbs up, and do all that stuff. Until the next time. Matter of fact, tomorrow we got a girl out of Lafayette, Louisiana. We're gonna talk to her where the police went in and killed her baby, shot her baby. And now they're trying to cover it up. So we're going to get into that. It's a deep story. Marlena is already aware of it. So we'll bring you guys up to speed as we go. But once again, I am Professor Melly Mill. Don't mind me. Just watch it. But go ahead and lock that door.
Cali Finest, baby. Proof of grind all the time. Music money. Got a dollar sign. Hub City. I'm a street nigga, streets fuck with me. I'ma keep pushing products till the feds get me. It's guap off top, diamond Cartier. That nigga wall won't give a pro bitch the time of day. They see me climbing, they see me shining. That's hard work, proof of grinding. New money got me tipping in that 550. Ali, bad man, and I'm so pretty. I got that tech with me, that's my hater sprayer. Go big, grind now, nigga, play later. What can I say? I'm addicted to this paper stacking, and I don't talk about it, I just make it happen. Word on the block is that the shit go. Reach for the low.
Lock the door, Marlena. We are gone.